So when I do these videos, they're pretty much just me asking questions and pointing out things that I see. And I ask questions on things that I just don't understand. And there's a few things that I don't understand because they just don't make any sense. Now, I understand the textbook definitions of things, and I understand how people love to spit out the textbook definition. But whenever you watch it actually work in real life and reality, you notice that people aren't using the textbook definitions, not the successful people anyway. With that being said, let me ask this question. Conservatives, what exactly are you trying to conserve? We know it's not the Constitution because I constantly hear people say, oh, we just need to follow the Constitution as it was written, as the founding fathers intended to. We know you're not trying to conserve the Constitution, thank goodness, because it's been changed how many times? That document was not meant to be conserved. It was designed to be changed. How do we know this? It's been changed. So we know that you're not trying to conserve the Constitution. Again, thank goodness. So then we can move on to well, we're trying to conserve a way of life. What way of life? Excuse me. What way of life? What way of life are you trying to conserve? Because the Civil Rights Act was not that long ago. Not even 100 years ago. Not even 75 years ago. So, what way of life are you trying to conserve? Oh, you mean you want to impose your religious beliefs onto the rest of the country? Yeah, that's called Sharia. Is that what you're trying to conserve? Okay. Maybe that's not what you're trying to conserve then. Maybe it's financial responsibility. Except we know that that's not true because you guys just continue to add on to debts and deficits, and anyone who can do a little bit of reading would see that. So the question remains, what are you trying to conserve? And then I finally figured it out. You are trying to conserve the status quo. Because this goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning about definitions. Because people don't seem to understand or realize that capitalism is not a system. Capitalism is the exchange of goods and services for something of value. You want to know how I know this? Because American capitalists do business in socialist and communist countries like China, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Russia, etc., etc. So if these capitalists can go around the world and prosper in these places that you were told were horrible for people, then something is not adding up there. To make it even worse, a lot of you are under the impression that the government is in control of the supply chain, the prices, keeping shelves stocked. And if you believe that, then I'm sorry to tell you, but you believe America is some kind of socialist communist country already. That's not the free market. I hate giving politicians credit for certain things because I really don't think that they deserve it. But in certain cases, it is warranted. Because if you really want to say that presidents are the ones who control job growth, then I'm sorry, Joe Biden wins. Now, if you believe that these jobs would have been created whether Joe Biden was in office or not, that's a conversation we can actually have. But I do know that we have Republican politicians out here trying to take credit for infrastructure money that they voted against. So the question really remains, like, what exactly are you trying to conserve? And I'm not really sure anybody seems to understand anything. Because if you haven't noticed, I'll give the example of the NFL. Everyone loves football. Football is like the number one sport in America. Everyone loves the NFL. The NFL literally shares profits. $1 billion a year industry, and they share profits. But yet capitalists will continue to tell you that these kind of things are wrong as they go around the world and do business. Again, all I like to do is ask questions and point out things that make no sense to me. Socialism and communism are so horrible that American capitalists can go to China and make billions. People are out here crying over a pipeline that was nowhere near complete, and that was going to carry materials that were going to benefit no one except the people who invested into it. Which is weird, because the material that was supposed to go through that pipeline is actually still being transported, and they're still making their money from it. But they have you, the average person, believing that it's not, and that's the reason why prices are up, and they're blaming the politicians and Joe Biden for it, even though their materials are still being transported and they're still profiting off of it. I don't know how else to say this, but there is no question and no doubt in my mind anymore why the wealth gap is as large as it is and continues to grow daily. So when you guys are ready to actually wake up and stop doing the same thing over and over and over again, like this is the movie Groundhog's Day, that's when real change will happen. Because I've explained how real change happens, and no, it doesn't happen with raising wages. I've explained that already. You raise wages, what's the big deal? Prices go up twice as fast. And I've already been through it, and it starts with real estate, and I've explained that already also. I'm not even going to get back into it. But I really just want to know exactly what are conservatives trying to conserve, because we all know what the definition of insanity is, don't we?